Yeah, so thank you very much for allowing me to share with us about what particularly we are doing at Unga in terms of coming up with an agile and robust security strategy and how we recover in case of disasters. So like the previous presenter has said, either you'll already have been attacked or you don't know that you've been attacked. So you'll find that maybe certain information has been lost in your organization without you even knowing. So what as IT and risk professionals we need to do is to try as much as possible to ensure that we guard against basic vulnerabilities. And this we can do by doing various simple checks. I think when we started early on in our careers, you must have heard about this triad, the CIA. So basically you need to look at how do you ensure the confidentiality of data in your organization, the integrity, that is in terms of the information being modified or by people who should not, and then how do you ensure the availability of information. So availability is the key area we are looking at here in terms of being able to recover, and I'll share with us what basically we've done to guard against that. So I think the first thing you need to do is always to ensure that you have a good IT security strategy. So as an IT or risk professional, you need to ensure that you have this in place based on either your corporate strategy, basically your appetite for risk, and then from that, then you can build up in terms of putting the right processes and tools in place. And for you to have that in place, I think one thing you need to always have is one, you need to have some kind of competent staff in your team, and some organizations may not have the IT professionals, maybe security professionals in the team or risk, but in which case, then you need to always find a way to use some of these companies which provide those options like managed security, MSS. So, and there are so many security certifications that people may need to do. I think when you check people's LinkedIn profiles, you see somebody has 10, 15, 20 certifications. Organizations may not be able to afford all these certifications, and hence the need for giving some of these things to professionals. And then you also need to always come up with which framework are you going to adopt. So as you can see, there are several. You'll hear of NIST, COBIT, ISO 27001, SANS 20. I believe that all these frameworks are not very, very different from each other. So whichever you adopt, I think they'll somehow guide you in the right path in terms of being able to put your proper recovery in place. And I think early on in my career, I think maybe 20 plus years ago, we were using a lot more COBIT and Sarbanes-Oxley in terms of data protection and just ensuring that information was proper and you were able to recover. But now you find people have moved more into either NIST or ISO 27001 or 22301. So, and then in terms of the other key thing you need to always do, and I think somebody shared earlier, is to have a proper internal IT, what you call it, IT general controls. So you need to constantly review your IT processes, IT systems, to ensure that the vulnerabilities are addressed as much as possible. So you need to conduct VAPT, which in most cases you may not have the expertise internally, so you can get professionals to do it for you, or you can get tools from some of the companies I've talked to early in the morning. There are tools which you can put in place to help you do continuous VAPT of your environment. And also, of course, you need to invest in things like ethical hacking, which somebody shared about earlier. Then we normally say the staff are the main point of interaction with the outside world. So we always need to ensure that we conduct user awareness user awareness training to guide them on things like phishing, vishing, and others. So in terms of Unga, what we've done, some of the projects we've done, you can see there are so many. I think we've implemented like 15 different projects in the past 5-6 years to basically improve the security posture of our organization. And to start with, I think very basic is something like perimeter firewall. I think even in our houses, you'll always find that somebody will put a wall around their house to protect against people being able to jump in. So I think one starting point is always to have a proper firewall. Maybe I'll just go into detail. So a proper firewall to ensure that the perimeter is secured. But perimeter firewall is not enough. For your very critical applications, then you need to invest in something like a WAF, or basically a web application firewall, so that you can specifically put security around that particular application. And then you may also set up what we call a DMZ to further protect, especially systems which are external facing from being directly accessed. Then, so as we put in place a firewall, a next generation firewall, just like I know most of you people have put. And then always a firewall, you need to always also ensure that it's properly configured and set up. Because one thing you come to realize that people may have firewalls, but when you go to check, you find that certain basic things are still missing. Then in our case, we also invested in what we call the sandblast to protect against the bring your own devices, the mobile phones and the tablets. So this ensures that these devices are constantly patched, and in case a staff accesses something which maybe the phone is completely out of date, or the phone, they try to install something which is dangerous, then automatically I get an SMS and an email. So as professionals in charge of these organizations, then the least you can do is to ensure that you are in control of some of these very basic situations. Then you can see also a VPN for you to access your systems and your network. You always need to have some kind of VPN access, so that you can ensure that the traffic is secured between whoever the staff who is accessing the systems and maybe if they're working externally to the organization. Then in terms of mail, things like email, the reason why we are looking at some of these things is that most of the time you'll find disasters don't just happen in isolation. So there'll always be certain missteps or steps that you miss as a professional, which if you are put in place, then the likelihood of being attacked reduces significantly. So in our case, for the email, we put in place an EDR. I think I wouldn't want to say which particular EDR, but whichever solution you put in place, basically you need something which has a EDR and also to protect against things like key logging. The reason why I recommend particularly about the key logging is in our case, Unga, about 3 years ago, we had an incident whereby yours truly, somebody was able to get my ERP password by installing software in malware onto my laptop. And this was a collaboration between external forces and my own internal staff. So you should not trust, you should have a zero trust policy in your organization, even relating to your IT staff and your admins. So basically, you need to protect a proper email system, which is also able to check for spam and reduce them as much as possible. Then this is very basic, and you'd expect that any IT professional will ensure that their systems are properly patched. But if you go maybe out of all of us here and you check maybe all the computers in the network, most likely you'll find that 50% of the organizations, the computers are not properly patched. And this is where the risk the risk starts. So let's try to have proper tools, and there are so many available to ensure that both your computers, phones, which are accessing the company systems are properly patched. Then I've talked previously about managed security. So in our case, I have a very small team. We are less than 10, managing a staff base of about 600 permanent staff. So we cannot, let's say we have like 20 different systems for various things. We cannot manage all these systems internally. So we've invested in a managed MSS arrangement with one of the leading cybersecurity companies. So basically that involves putting a SIM collector in our network, and an IDS and IPS. And this now picks information from all the critical devices in the network. And each day I'm able to get information that there is this risk, there is this risk. And in case something is critical, then they'll be able to call me immediately. So this we also need to take care of. So how do you manage your Wi-Fi? I think somebody mentioned earlier that they went to a company, and from the Wi-Fi they were able to access the AD, and they were able to access various systems in the network. And it's quite common. So in our case, what we've done is we've set our Wi-Fi such that we use people's AD. So you log on with your AD, and then the team, maybe, of course, you work with the service provider. Then we've made sure that you can only access whatever you, let's say, if it is internet, if you're using the guest Wi-Fi, then you are limited as to what you can access. So then something which is also very important is to always have VLANs, virtual LANs, across your organization. Maybe each department, you can put them in virtual LAN, so that you restrict the traffic. In case there's a problem in one of the areas, then you restrict how much it can spread out to the rest of the team. Then something simple as MFA. So in our case, we put multi-factor authentication both for our ERP and our email. And I think this is a starting point. In case you don't have a MFA, I think maybe when you go back today, kindly just go and try and put one in place. What we wouldn't like is a situation whereby, as IT professionals, you fail on very basic steps. Yeah. So in case you are to have a problem, then let it be something that you could not have maybe thought about. So we put in place MFA and the VLAN. Then security awareness, like I said, is very critical. And I think sometimes 6 years ago, we partnered with, I think I can see they're the only people who are talking about security awareness here today. We partnered with KnowBe4 in terms of conducting our security awareness to staff. So we do phishing simulations every month. And I think the first time when we started 6 years ago, about 40–50% of the people would fail the phishing emails. So they would click. Right now, I think we are at about 3–4%, which is, and then to try to, our previous MD used to be so serious about it. So he used to tell me if somebody fails the phishing simulations 3 times, then I share the list. Then they can have a quick chat over coffee. So people have tried to, as much as possible, to avoid, to identify phishing emails, and they usually call me up or my security guy to just say, I think this is not proper. And in our case, I normally encourage staff to also share the same with their families. So I allow staff to be able to allow their spouses and their children to access the same KnowBe4 and train them so that they have the basic information. Yeah, so in terms of our ERP, I think, like I said, we put in place MFA. So this reduces the risk significantly. Then at the same time, we have what we call a GRC, Governance, Risk and Compliance tool, which enable us, because I think the biggest challenge you normally face as professionals is you may have all these tools in place, but are you able to put the information together so that you are able to make sense out of it? So in the GRC, we can control things like put things like role management, and also ensure that we are able to review the logs from the system more easily. So the area which most people fail in is that we have all these logs from the firewall, from the SIEM, from the AD, but nobody actually purposes to look at them. So we need to, that's why we need to either invest in a local resource who is focused on security, like maybe Safaricom, or you outsource if you can't have the right people in place. So for our recovery, we also, because we realized that we could not rely on our DR, DR center within our network, so we've collocated our DR to one of the tier 3 service providers in Nairobi. So that ensures that, and we normally test it, because having collocating and you don't test is useless. So we normally test twice a year, and we run off the DR for at least 2 weeks. And this has happened over the past 3-4 years. And I can probably say that in 4 years, I know maybe some of you might have achieved more, but in the past 4 years, we've not had a downtime in our network in terms of the ERP. Then I think the other things which you need to always check is, like I said, some of these things, if you are conducting risk management, you are doing risk assessments, you are doing IT general control review, you have an internal team which checks also, then most likely you'll identify about 95% of the vulnerabilities. So try as much as possible to have either external people or internal people review your processes and identify vulnerabilities. Then, of course, you need to also standardize things like OS. I think you'll find some companies where people are still running Windows 7, which is no longer supported. So you need to also try to address such situations. So we use something called DocuSign just to help us like manage the workflow around things like role management. And I think this is a very good tool that I would recommend to all of us. Whichever tool you pick, always just ensure that it's able to ensure that the information is falling under the CIA triad. I think that's it. So I think in summary, what I would say is as professionals, whether it's in risk or in IT, let's try to always have a proper strategy in place and do the bare minimums that any organization is expected to do by adopting a good framework. And then you just ensure that you execute it at least 80-90%. Then you'll find that you'll address most of the risks. So if you are a professional and you fail on some of these basic things, then sadly I have to say you are an embarrassment to all of us. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, thank you, Mr. Tom.